What is good, everybody? It's your boy Piston Mike. Make sure you like, bell button for your boy. 70% of you guys are not subscribed. I don't know why. It don't cost you anything, not even a nickel or a dime. Let's get into today's video. Before you do that, click the link in the description for some cool piston gear. Also, if you want to donate to my channel, you ain't got to. But we're going to get into the special one today. We're going to talk about some draft prospects and all that with my favorite guest, my boy Steve. Make sure you go follow him at DetroitBadBoys.com. He got a few articles out. Make sure you go check him out, man.
Hey, what's up, Micah? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Doing good. This heat wave is crazy.
Yeah, I know. Out here in Arizona, it's been like 110, 112. Right now, it's getting to 100. It's probably like high 90s. So,
hope the best for you, man. Try to stay cool. Crazy is everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, make sure. Yeah, we're gonna get in today. Or unless, do you want to play your stuff once again?
Oh yeah, over at Detroit Bad Boys, I'm starting to churn out more and more articles just because it's draft season. That's my thing. Most recent ones, I did one on Shaden Sharp, looking at the history of drafting a high school player, because that was one of those things that I kept hearing a lot about, like, he's coming out of high school, he's going to have a hard time. So I looked at that to see if that really does have like an impact based on the guys that have been drafted out of high school straight to the NBA. And then Johnny Davis, I put out a piece on the case for him at number 5 as well. That came out yesterday. Final big board will come out sometime within the week. I'm trying to link to like a bunch of different other great draft resources and guys from the site that put together scouting profiles and stuff on people. I'll have one more on David Roddy for second round, considering him for a second round pick coming up. And then after that, there's one on AJ Griffin coming up too, the case for him at 5. I know he's kind of fallen out of favor, but I do think he still is in contention for it. And then after that, I'll consider the other few guys that are still in contention at 5. Obviously, Murray and Ivy are going to be there, and then I think one more probably name will be thrown in there. But that'll be a little bit shorter just because our guys have written on these guys before, so it'll be more of a link to their work just to give a breakdown of it. But and then after that, also I'll be doing a second round consideration for John Butler, Ziga Shamar, who's somebody I am very late to the party on, but has a really good potential as a combo guard. He's like 6'5", 6'6", can play the point. He's played in the Spanish ACB. Like, he's super interesting and shoot the 3. So look out for that. Just going to try and churn out as much draft content as possible, and also put out lists of like the shooters in this draft and bucket getters and then defenders, probably something like that. So a lot of stuff within this next week. Very excited for next Thursday.
Yeah, me too. Hey, name that you're gonna have to send me that dude. I'm gonna do some film. We're gonna talk for sure. We gonna guys that like that personally. Who is the 5?
I'm just going to go Shaden Sharp now, just because I think they got to take that home run swing. He's the guy that has everything that you want at the high pick like that, right? He's got tremendous upside. He's got above average athleticism. He has shot creation ability. And even when I looked into him, he's not somebody that was disengaged on defense and didn't do the little things. He actually used his physicality and as athleticism in other ways, like boxing out big men for rebounds. He was a pretty good passer. He did a lot of cutting too, even when he didn't have the ball. So he's engaged in a bunch of different ways. And my comparison to him was Andrew Wiggins, because I feel like he would have a similar thing if like he went to a team that just needed somebody to get buckets, like Minnesota with Wiggins. I feel like he would kind of be that same way of like, he'll score, but he won't be very efficient. He's not going to be one of those guys that people automatically label as a winner, whatever all that nonsense is, right? But he'll still use his athleticism to get dunks and get buckets. But I think he could be the Wiggins that we see now in the finals, where he uses that athleticism and length to guard Jason Tatum to, dive in for rebounds and putbacks to cut. And then his shooting is finally come around too, which is another thing I think was Sharp. It might take a little bit of time for a shot to come around, but I definitely don't think it's bad. by any means. He shot 36.4% in this EYBL circuit he had last summer. But he also shot something like 63.5% from the free throw line. So again, it's inconsistent mechanics, but shows he can capably, functionally handle the ball, create his own shot, get up for dunks, and 6'6", 200-ish. Actually, I can give you the exact measurements because he did measure at the combine, which is something I think should be commended. I mean, it's like that's the thing that sucks about the NBA combine now is like so many guys just didn't participate or even measure. So it was like, why did you even bother showing up? Like Jaden Ivey's one of those ones that didn't measure. Keegan Murray didn't measure there, and well, it's not like the biggest red flag. It would have been nice because I think the difference, especially for somebody like Ivey, if he is like 6'2" versus the 6'4" he's listed at, probably a big negative for certain teams, not everybody, but I'm sure certain teams, if he measured it anything under 6'4", they would probably knock him down a little bit. So yeah, Shaedon Sharpe is 6'5" inch, 6'11.5" wingspan, 198 pounds. So again, a wing size dude that has a size advantage over somebody like a Jaden Ivey, has the weight advantage over somebody like Benedict Mathurin. Probably has a little bit more creation ability than Benedict Mathurin as well. And then he has the age on somebody like a Keegan Murray. So, yeah, he would be my pick just because that upside is too great. And the Pistons have time and patience, too. That's the main thing that I found when looking at these past guys that were drafted out of high school. Like the teams that actually understood, okay, this is going to take 2 to 3 years. Let's just bring them along slowly. Take time to develop the skills they already have. That's the main thing, and that's what the Pistons have. Is they don't need to rush them in action. They can take their time, and they have a patient coaching staff with Coach Casey, who's shown time and time again to foster young guys, not get on their case, and let them play through their warts and struggles.
Yeah, I mean, definitely interesting. We'll see what happens. I feel like he's gonna get drafted by Sacramento. And I've also heard OKC really likes him and they be willing to trade for him. So that's another thing that we gotta watch out for. Dude might end up being off the board by the Pistons pick, but you never know. But the guy that I like the most at number 5 for the Pistons, it's 2 of them for the guards that I really like. I do like Benedict Mathurin at the number 5 a lot, just because he might not have the high ceiling, but his floor is super, super high. He's going to provide you with the shooting. He's really good athletically, getting to the paint. He's promising on defense. Yeah, he doesn't have the ball creation like the other guards do, but if he can work on that, his ceiling is definitely much higher. And people might not like it. I do like. Would consider taking Johnny Davis number 5 spot. I would. I definitely would. I think what he provided, what he did, what most people not going to talk about. Another thing that people don't talk about, he had Jaden Ivey. He made him look like a straight fool, like straight dog watch game. And how he did that with a team that have that much talent, and how it seems like his motor for high. He brings the same effort on offense as he does defense. The only thing that he probably needs to work on is that 3-point and then up. But his 3-point numbers were higher when they were catching. So I think he'll just be a lot better than people. That's just me. So.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about Johnny Davis ad nauseum now too, like for all the reasons you stated. I think his 3-point shot's actually not that bad either, just because, like you said, he didn't have anybody helping. Nobody on that Wisconsin team who's got regular minutes shot, or even 35% from 3. So he had, like I said, next to no help in that regard. Yeah, his lockdown defense at the guard spot where he could guard 1s and 2s, I think that's something the team absolutely needs. which is again why I think you and I have both been kind of like, yeah, on Jaden Ivey because he's an athlete, but he didn't always show that he wanted to do that and that he understood like how to do that either. And then I guess that's always alarming to me too when somebody looks like a different athlete on one end of the floor as opposed to the other. It's just like, yeah, you can turn it on and off, but also, I mean, for every like, I don't know, I can't even think of a. I know there's examples of it, but I just can't think off the top of my head like an athletic guy. Okay, Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards is a good case, right? Super athletic guy, was terrible at defense in college, but just turned it on in the NBA, and now he's getting better and better. But there's also guys like J.R. Smith or Gerald Green, like who are still amazing, phenomenal athletes, but they just suck on defense. They did not care. They didn't want to play. So it's one of those things that you just don't know. You can never tell. And yeah, Benedict Mathurin, like I'm here in Tucson. I'm always going to stand up for my guys here. And yeah, and the thing with him too is he doesn't have no upside. That's the thing too. I think with both him and Davis, people just kind of write him off as like, yeah, they are what they are. But it's like, no, actually, Mathurin like had to lead the Canadian team last season and showed there that he can do more things on ball. And Johnny Davis too, like, yeah, he wasn't surrounded by a lot of talent, so he has this ability to do more if he actually has other guys taking pressure off him, and he can just focus on a role in his first year or two too. So yeah, I mean, I think Mathurin is the best fit, really, if they wanted to do that combination of like, who does have legitimate starting, like good high-level upside. Well, not high-level upside, but just as good, somewhat upside, plus we know is going to work. It's got to be Benedict Mathurin because the shooting's already there. He's 6'6", 204 pounds. He actually bulked up since the offseason, so he's got better size. 6'9", wingspan. He can guard man-to-man. He's still got some work to do off the ball, but man-to-man, he would be the guy taking the tougher defensive assignment away from Cade, which again is what we need. Not as good as Johnny Davis, but he's still working his way into being that level, and he could be even better in the league. And he has plus athleticism like a Shaedon Sharpe. I don't think there's really that big of a difference between the two of them, if I'm being quite honest about like their level of athleticism functionally, because I saw the same type of dunks from Mathurin. I mean, the best example is that one he threw on the TCU Center in a tournament where he just like put that guy in the ground, right, just bury him. He's dead. Down on arrival, man, that was maybe the best dunk all year in this past draft cycle. So yeah, he would be the one that I think fits the best out of all the guys they're considering. Because again, Ivy, the defensive concerns are there, and then the shooting concerns are there too. I know what his percentages are, but if you just look at his back half of the year, he shot under 30%, and then if you look at his numbers from the beginning of this year until the end of the season, it was like 30-something%. So he had a hot start, and he really cooled off as the season went on. So
one thing I want to get into, I wanted to ask you, who you think the Pistons will end up picking?
Well, I think it's going to be Keegan Murray though. Like James Edwards reports it, Amari Sankofa reports it. Like everybody that, if you listen to draft stuff and people that are actually connected and have sources in the league, like that's the name that keeps coming up, which isn't bad. I don't want to be like too disappointed because one of the lists I always put together is like guys you shouldn't be mad if the Pistons draft, and he's probably top of that list just because it's hard to see him not working out, right? Good shooter, good screen setter, can play somewhere between the 3 and the 5. On defense, knows how to get his own bucket. He was one of the top isolation scorers this past season. But for me, somebody probably about halfway through the season said he's very much like Marcus Morris, which is something I just have never been able to get out of my mind. And again, Marcus Morris is great. Is a fantastic, solid starter who has been for a long time. But at the number 5 pick, I would like to be, even if Shaedon Sharpe busts, or even if Jaden Ivey busts, this is where I think like that line of thinking I think would serve a team better. Just like you got to take a swing, and if it really is just like this guy who's safer, that's the only reason I don't like him. And just watching him a lot, I just don't see the same either like on balls, shot creation ability, upside, or defensive like anchor or man-to-man lockdown potential with Murray. Again, Marcus Morris, I think he'll be solid and fine and be that like fourth, fifth starter that will always fill in the cracks here and there. But at number 5, I would like more.
Yeah, I feel you. Because my thing, like you said, I just think we need to go with an athletic guard. Like that's something that we've been lacking. That we need.
Yeah.
I'd rather go take a chance on one of them guys that you just named, somebody like that, because we don't need a necessarily another forward. But to me, that indicates if we do take Keegan Murray, Jeremy Grant has to be out because I don't
Maybe, yeah.
I don't necessarily think if you drafting Keegan Murray, he's going to be 22 years old. He's going to come in and he's going to have he might not have a super crazy rookie season, but he's going to have a decent rookie season. I don't necessarily know if you can play him, Grant, and Bay together. I don't know if that's going to work out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what it would seem like, but also like maybe they work Murray in as like the sixth man or whatever. But yeah, it's like 90% certain if they drafted Murray, they would have to be unloading Grant because you're right that Cade, Sadiq, Murray, Grant, Steve Stewart. That's too few guards, and like who's guarding point guards in that lineup? It's gonna have to be Cade, but that's not an ideal situation there. Not that he can't do it, but you just don't want your primary offensive guy to always have to be chasing around Steph Curry and Damian Lillard, and whoever else, John Morant, whoever else is on the other end every night. Yeah. But I think the only like solace I would take it if they draft Murray is if they do unload Grant, and then say they get number 7 or number 10. They get one of those guards we just named. That would be ideal, I think. Like that way you take the safe guy that you really like, and then you take a swing on like Shaden Sharp, or you be able to finally get that other guy in either Davis, Ivy. Ivy's probably gone, but I mean, if he fell at 7 or wherever, like that's just something you probably have to take a swing on at that point. It might be a little bit odd because maybe something came up in like his medical or whatever, but if he fell that far, it'd be odd.
Yeah. One ask you, I just seen, I don't know if there's any truth to this. I don't know, but we gonna talk about it. I don't know I think Jake Fisher is reliable. I don't know if he's all the way, but there's been rumors, or that just came out an hour or two ago, that the Pistons are made the 46 available. Do you believe that? Is there anybody we could get with the 46 pick? I mean, like necessarily trade for, or we do it for cash considerations, or like what?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of an odd report because I think any team would make any second round pick available. That's just a thing every year because they're just such a low hit rate. Personally, I would always just try and keep it because I love the draft, and I think we're not New York, we're not LA. Those are always, we're not Miami. Those are always like areas where like draft picks don't really mean anything to them because they're always going to attract guys. Even like undrafted free agents. It's part of what Miami's appeal is, right? And they've been doing such a great job developing those guys for a long time. So I'm always of the mindset like you got to keep as many draft picks as possible. But if that's the difference in like squeezing a DeAndre and trying to like Portland wants number 46 to get number 7, then cool, that's fine because that's like whatever. And again, the hit rate, especially on picks below, I think like 40 in drafts is even lower than just the regular second rounders, like 30 to 31 to 39 or 45, somewhere around there. Those actually don't have that as low of a failure rate as you would think. But once you get past, I think it's like 40 to 46, somewhere in there. And it's even significantly lower than like this is actually even going to be a rotation player.
Well, is there any second rounders at that spot that you would think Pistons should take a gamble on in this draft?
Yeah, I mean the guy I'm writing on now is John Butler. You look at his stats and they are like nothing.
He is out of Florida State. He's listed as a forward. His stats this season are 5.9 points per game, 3.2 rebounds, zero point 0.7 assists, zero point 0.4 steals, 1.2 blocks. Shooting splits of 43.9, 39.3 from three-point range, and then 44% from the free throw line. But I mean, he barely took it because he took 25, so you just got to take that with a grain of salt. But the appeal on him, let me give you his actual combine measurements, is that, again, he's listed as a forward, but he is 7 feet and a quarter inch tall. He has a 9'4" standing reach. He's 174 pounds, so he's really skinny, and he's got a 7'2" wingspan. So this is a tall, lanky shooter. And again, that 39.3%, it looks pretty legit. He did compete in the combine games there, and there's film of it from the scouting report if you wanted to go look at it. And he didn't look at a place. I think that's the biggest thing with these workouts. And I mean, I'll just give away the article I'm writing now, but this is like a Cam Johnson type of a play where he's super tall. You bet on the shooting to pan out to where like you can just, put him up there so much, and that he's tall and can operate at those forward spots, that really is more his appeal. He's probably going to get pushed around, but again, like Cam Johnson, 6'9", 210. Yeah, he's significantly bigger than the 7'1", 174 pounds that Butler is, but this is a player type that could potentially work out if he becomes the three-point shooter that Cam Johnson is. And I think Cam Johnson shot something like 41.5% last year, scored like 12 some odd points per game. And really, you're looking at John Butler's shot chart right now. He was 11 of 26 from the left corner, which is 42.3%. And 7 of 18 from the other corner, which is 38.9%. I mean, really, he was good all the way around the arc, except for just like on the left. The left wing, he shot 31.3%, 5 of 16. Top of the key, he shot 37.5%, 3 of 8. And then the right wing, he shot 7 out of 16, so 43.8%. So it does look like he is an actual good shooter. And at that size, like, who's going to be able to block? Mm-hmm. Even if you just this like rotation shooter a la Cam Johnson, that's an incredibly useful player. Defense is going to be his biggest concern. He'll probably take a year or two in the G League, just like he's a second round pick. But he's definitely somebody I think should be worth a gamble, because even though I like give the Cam Johnson comp, I don't know that's just the thought. He also doesn't really have a great 1-1 comp, because how many 7'1" guys that like basically operate like a small forward. So yeah, he's super, super intriguing. And with those 1.2 blocks per game, that's not bad. 36 total blocks for somebody that skinny. His best film was against Duke, where he did have some really good, nice defensive stands against Paulo at the end of that game. I'll give you the date on that. So it was January 18th against Duke. He put up 14 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 4 from three-point range, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Oh, excuse me, he was 2 of 4 from two-point range. He was 3 of 4 from three-point range, and then 1 of 2 from the free throw line. 14 points, 2 blocks, 2 rebounds. So yeah, that would definitely be a game to look at, because I think that's probably the game that people kind of thought, does this guy actually have a chance to do something, and then not just get pushed around.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a guy who caught my eye. I know he's super skinny. If he adds 20 or 30 pounds, maybe he'll be fine. We've seen really skinny players work in this league. There's, a chance that he can really work. Yeah, he's worth a gamble. I mean, anybody you gonna pick in the second round is gamble, especially at that spot. But I wouldn't mind if he's tall like that. Why?
He's a freshman too, so he's 19. I mean, so he's got time. And again, like the Pistons have invested so much in Motor City Cruise. I think this is one of their good test cases of like, let's just keep this guy around 2 to 3 years, let him build out his body, and figure out like how to use that shooting and then maybe do one or two other things on offense.
Yeah. A guy that I would be interested in that we definitely talked about for as round. I believe he's staying in the draft is Isaiah Mobley.
Oh yeah, Evan Mobley's brother.
Yeah, the 6'10" guy, I believe. I don't know off the top of my head how much he averaged, but if I'm guessing, I think it was like 14-7 for UFC.
That's pretty good. Yeah, you're really close. It's 14.2 and 8.3 rebounds. So yeah, you're really close. And then 3.3 assists, which I think is his like big like skill that not a lot of the big men have. Him and his brother seem to share that, just really knowing how to pass the ball in a variety of situations too. So and he shot 35.2% from three, and he shot 43.6% from 30 last year. His free throw numbers percentage though was 68.2, but that's still an increase from last year where it's 54.5%. Trending in the right direction. He's a junior. Defensively, he's solid. I wouldn't say he's like amazing, but this is definitely a guy with, I think, like you said, underrated 6'2" or 6'10", 235 is what he's listed at. Let me see if he measured at the combine. Those numbers too here. Mobley, where you at? It doesn't look like he was there. Yeah, we don't have exact measurements, but 6'10", 235. You look at him, stand next to his brother, especially you watch games last year. That looks about right. He's shorter, but still got some heft on it. Yeah, I like him a lot too. You can't argue with him. He'd be somebody that, if they wanted a second round pick of like somebody who just seems like they're going to work out, yeah, take another Mobley. Maybe you can get him to like try and convince his brother to come after this contract too, right?
Yeah, I agree. That would be crazy if that happened.
Yeah.
There's a lot of recruiting that goes on in the NBA. That's what people don't talk about, especially amongst players. But I got a few more questions to ask you. I'm gonna ask you this one. Who should the Pistons try to target if we were to get another first round pick? It don't matter if it's lottery. It could be all the way to 15 to 30, mid to late first round pick. One guy that I like, and he's also for Arizona. He tested well at that combine. He was really how tall they said he was. I love Christian Coloco. I don't know why people sleep on him. I think he moves very well with guards. He averaged, I believe, 12.8 points a game, about seven rebounds and 2.8 blocks. And free throw line.
Yeah, well, you're right. 12.6, 7.3 rebounds, 1.4 assists, and 2.8 blocks. Yeah, you're real close. And you've been studying him for real.
I love his game. Ever since you told me he moves with guards, and I've been watching films how big he is and how he moves with guards, and he's really 7 foot with a 7'5" wingspan. He really measured that at the combine, and his vertical, I think max vertical jump was 33.5.
Yeah, he's legit, man. Yes, like you said, 7 foot exactly in shoes, 9'5" standing reach, gigantic. 7 foot 5.25" wingspan. So yeah, definitely, and yeah, 5.7 body fat, which is like one of the lower percentages. It's funny, him and Benedict Mathurin have the exact same body fat percentage. So we got a meeting right and train right here in Arizona, man. But yeah, he would definitely be on that extra first round pick. I just would be like really wanting to know where it's at. Because if we're talking like mid first round, we're probably having to give up more, right? Or if it's the end of the first round, then it's easier to swing a deal. Like, I don't know if Kelly Olynyk would be enough to get like 16 to 20, but he's probably enough to just by himself to get 21 to 30, right? So that would be my only thing with him too. And I am a little bit worried because he was like saying he could shoot 3-pointers and he was doing the 3-point drills. He came in second on that 3-point star drill.
at the combine, which has me having Andre Drummond flashbacks, if I'm being quite honest. Or it's just like, man, you don't need to do that, number one. But hey, you never know. Like Dwayne Dedman never shot threes. Brook Lopez never shot threes until like 10 years in or whatever. And he shot 73.5% from the line last year, which he averaged 3.7 attempts, which is his most attempts ever. And that's his highest free throw percentage ever. So there's indication that he is at least progressing in that form. Part two. So don't want to rule it out, but I wouldn't bet on it either. But yeah, I mean, I can't knock on him, especially if the team wanted to sign like Mitchell Robinson. I would highly urge, if I had an East way, be like, let's just trade Kelly Olynyk and get Christian Colombo there, because this guy is cheaper, he's younger, and he looks like he can do more than Mitchell Robinson, who would just camp out in the paint.
Yeah, he definitely. He's all, and like I said, I agree with you. I don't know if necessarily he's ever going to be able to shoot threes, but his jumper looks so pretty. If he can work on a turnaround fade, or if he can stay in that mid-range, provide that much space, I think free throws indicate that I think he can hit that shot. His jumper.
Yeah, with his movement skills too. Like people have been talking about centers that can be played out of the playoffs. Like I think that's what separates him from somebody like Mark Williams and maybe even Jalen Duren. But definitely Mark Williams is one of those guys that, to me, it just seems like once you get in the playoffs, like what's he going to do? He's too stiff to really hang with the top guards on defense, so he's just going to get hunted there. He can't space the floor. Again, he's like a Mitchell Robinson, where he's just kind of camped out in the paint. And he's good, he's solid, but I just don't see anything else that can really separate him to be even like a Robert Williams type of guy, which I think Christian Colombo could be, but he's a lot taller too and moves a lot better than Robert Williams. So yeah, I definitely think he would be worth one of those extra first rounders. But I don't know, his range is odd too, because I've seen him anywhere from like 20 to like 40. So who knows, maybe if he falls to the second round, that would be somebody definitely too. Like 31 comes around and he's still there, like you might want to just try and package 46 and something else to move up in the second.
For sure. So is there anybody you will want at extra first round pick if we end up getting it? Anybody who intrigued you?
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Hardy, we'll circle back to him. I know we started the year talking about him too. The more I watch of him and the more I've heard other people like evaluate him, it's just that G League Ignite team didn't do any favors. Like nobody on that team shot well from three. There was like one other guy. I think Pooh Jeter was the only other guy to even approach average shooting. I mean, he did shoot like 40%, I think, from three. So like the other guys, Dyson Daniels and Marjan Beauchamp, both shot under 30% from three for the whole year, so they didn't help him out there. They didn't really have anybody else creating shots or handling the ball until Scoot Henderson got there, which was like middle of the year. And then they had to readjust the whole offense halfway through the year to account for the fact that Scoot can't shoot either. Scoot shot like 18% or something like that from three, terrible percentage. So Hardy, in the meantime, had to switch roles from being the primary ball handler, pick and roll operator, to now more of an off-ball share duties with Scoot. And he handled it fine, handled it professionally as well, continuing to have to be the main floor spacer along with Pooh Jeter as well, with a bunch of dudes that aren't helping you out in a league where you don't play defense. I mean, his defense is the thing that everybody kind of harps on, saying he's like the worst defender or whatever, but it's the G League. Nobody plays defense. And this kind of circles back to the Jaden Ivey thing too. Like, it's not that he can't do it. It's just like he wasn't really encouraged to do it all the time. He didn't have to do it all the time. And the difference between him and Ivy is like, I can take a swing on that guy at like 15 to 20, but I don't want to take a swing on that guy at number 5. Jaden Hardy, coming into the year, was thought of as like a top 5 guy too. So this is a top 5 talent that people are kind of looking over. He still has really good ball handling ability too. I know Sam Vecini called him like one of the best ball handlers in this class, which I think is right too. You just don't see him like get it shook off, and he can go through guys. Had trouble finishing, though, is the main thing. But also, I think part of it is just having that whole lane crowded and nobody really providing a lot of space. The beginning of the year, he didn't have that great of a pick and roll, like, complimentary guy, but then him and Amir Johnson got better as the year went on. Especially if you look at the last couple of games, Fanbo Zhang is another one where they really got on the same page. You could tell, like, oh, this is what this guy looks like. I listened to an interview on NBA Big Board with Jason Hart, who was the head coach for the G League Ignite. I forget who he compared it to, because they were the host asked him Brad Beal, and he's like, yeah, Brad Beal. I think maybe it was like C.J. McCollum, but I might just be putting that on to him because that's kind of how I see him. If he does work out, it's like that C.J. McCollum. Yeah, he can handle the ball. Yeah, he can play make, but he's definitely not a point. He's better as just this like roamer and scorer, run second units, and will always be a positive. And just an average defender at best. He'd be somebody that I would be like, man, let's just go get him. And the further he falls, let's just go get him. Especially out of the lot. Once you get out of the lottery, 15 or 30, like go get that other pick because there's really not other guys that profile as this high level shot creator. If anything else, even if the defense doesn't work out, you have somebody like Jordan Clarkson or you have somebody like Jordan Poole that Jaden Hardy could be like.
Yeah, always. Y'all, as y'all guys see, was at Fort Weaver, Cade Cunningham, and Pistons were at his pro day with the clutch points. He looks pretty good, and he looks like he already got the NBA body. He bumped up and everything. He looked like he can take some more contacts. I'm not about that. And I think he has above average athleticism too. Rashard Phillips, I listened to him a lot. He gave him a comparison to him. I could kind of see it. I think he might end up being but he gave him a buddy comparison, which I
I remember hearing that too. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Yeah, definitely.
So I like him. I always gonna like him, and he's from Detroit. I don't think people want. I think he want to stay. So that's another win for him. So
Yeah. I know too with Hardy too. He's somebody you could just throw out there in the second unit day one. Like you bring in Gary Harris, Gary Payton at the second, or somebody to start with Cade, and then you have your second unit run by Killian and Hardy. You have perfect complementary skill sets, right? Killian can't shoot. He's an awesome defender, great passer. Hardy can't defend. He's a really good shooter. Both are, really good ball handlers as well. Hardy's still developing as a passer, but you definitely have that shot creator and that defender and point guard, traditional point guard there. And then Killian 6'5", Hardy 6'4", so you got good size there at the backup. So I think that would be like best for his development. He's definitely tops, I think, on my guys you should go grab a second round pick for.
Yeah.
Or second first pick.
Yeah. One more question I wanted to ask real quick is D'Angelo Russell is getting shopped around. You don't want him? Not at all. He was like, no way. I seen that dude in the playoffs, man. Get him up out of here.
I mean, the main thing is just he don't play defense. He takes the ball away from Cade too much. I don't know. I wouldn't be mad at the move, like if they did it. It just would be dependent on what they gave up, for one. But again, like we've talked about a lot, the last thing I want is them to bring in another player that requires them to take the ball out of Cade's hands. Everything should revolve around, okay, how does this help Cade? Not like, okay, how does this guy, how can we fit this guy in, or how can this guy take something away from Cade? Not necessarily that you need to look at it that way, but we all know D'Angelo Russell needs the ball a lot. And I just think that's a bad fit with Cade. It's also why you and I don't like Jaden Ivey, because we feel like he needs the ball a lot. That's the main thing I just wouldn't like it.
This is really the last question. The scene that the Bulls are shopping that 18th pick with Kobe White, would you do it? No or yes?
I'd take the flyer. And it's similar to what I just said about Jaden Hardy. I think like you could say the same thing about Kobe White. He's proved a little bit more, actually. He's taller. Good gunner, good shooter, and I do think actually pairing him with Killian would be a good thing because he's an okay playmaker, but he just seems to be more of a gunner and more of a shooting guard than a point guard. He's also like 6'5", 6'6", so again that gives super good size in the backcourt. Who knows? Maybe he could turn into something a little bit more. He's definitely worth taking a flyer on, along with that 16 pick. I don't know if you just trade like Ranford or if this be Kelly Olynyk or what the deal would be. But yeah, that seems like another good one.
Yeah. That's all I got for you. Make sure y'all go check out his articles at DetroitBadBoys.com. Show him some love. He be putting in work like I'm putting in work. That's why we all get to do these videos. He can break it down more to the T. I'm okay with numbers, but I ain't like him. He's a whole nother level. So make sure y'all show him some love, please. I think we want to duos when it comes to doing this. So I always love having him. He's got great information, great opinions, and a great basketball mind. So,
hey man, right back at you too. So I know you're putting out all that work. Make sure you go like, subscribe, all of his stuff, man. He's always on top of all the Pistons news too. Like I remember just seeing your videos in my feed, and I'm like, oh man, that happened. So yeah, keep up with Michael, man.
Man, I appreciate it. Much love and peace and positivity to you. Stay cool because it's super hot, man.
Yeah.
Until the next time, peace.